Welcome once again to Around the Conference, and this is our final segment for the year 2017. We're delighted to have with me on the set today Mrs. Kenesha Sims. The last time you saw her, she was still hanging on to Hanson. But the Lord has blessed her and her husband, Pastor Manasseh Sims, as they've been united in holy wedlock. Welcome, Kenesha.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
So tell me, how is Eleuthera?
Eleuthera, I'm loving Eleuthera,
You're loving
actually.
Eleuthera.
Yes. I tend to sometimes daydream about places that I'd love to be. And now the only thing is Eleuthera. Like, Eleuthera has trumped everywhere in the world for now.
Haven't
Yes, for now.
Well, Eleuthera is the birthplace of my mother
Okay.
in Bluff. I think where you're residing now. So
Really?
I would tend to agree with you.
Yes. It is a lovely place.
Yeah, well, since you last were on the program, I believe we had a number of things happen. So we want to talk a little bit about our set.
Yes, yes.
And we want to kind of review some of the things that have happened over the course of this year
Yes,
here on
indeed.
Around the Conference. Somebody texted me about maybe 6 months ago and said, Pastor Cavella, you need to do something with that set.
They were reading my mind. Whomever you are, we listened.
Yeah.
They listened.
And thank God Pastor Brennan and the team here
Yes.
got on the job. And I think they did a wonderful
I think so too.
Yeah.
When I came in, because I had no idea, when I came in and I saw it, I was in love. I was like, yes, this is the set for Around the Conference. It's beautiful.
I remember when they came to my office and started looking around, and I said, what's going on here? And they said, we're trying to discover if we can find anything to put on the new set for Around the Conference.
Yes.
And this globe,
Oh.
which has been graciously donated to my office,
Okay.
became a part of Around the Conference.
Around the Conference, and it fits so well with it.
Yeah, so we want to say kudos to
Yes.
Pastor Brennan and his team for what they have done here. I know it has been an exciting year for me, and I'm sure for you as well. What are some of the events or shows that you've done that you want to share
That at this
with our audience? Maybe we could interact on them. Some that you have done and some that I've done.
I feel that I've done some historical ones in terms of when I interviewed Pastor Lewis, because he doesn't do interviews at all.
That's true.
So when I asked him, and he told me no at first. But I'm like, Pastor Lewis, you really can't say no to me at this time. The people need to hear you.
Yes.
So he agreed, and so that for me, I was honored that he actually consented, and I enjoyed the interview. Actually, he has a sense of humor that I don't think a lot of persons probably would know, because like when they see him, they see treasurer or pastor,
Right.
but he's a silly one.
Sometimes if we just have the opportunity of getting a little nearer to persons, we see other sides of them.
That's true. That's true.
What will, in talking with him, what emanated in terms of him as a person? He's been 40 plus years in the work.
He spoke about, of course, the many years, the decades that he has given to church work. And he gave us some history also. I can't remember exactly one of the main things he said that I was shocked about, but it was a show where I got to learn about Pastor Lewis, but also got some church history in the mix, and then also learned about his family outside of the church, his family life. So we got all sides, the work life, the spiritual life, the church life, all that life of Pastor Lewis during that interview.
And just recently, he was honored by the youth department.
Yes.
For his long, outstanding service. And I think that was a sort of icing
on the cake. Yes. Yes, I think we got Pastor Lewis out of his comfort zone this year. Yes, we definitely got him out of his comfort zone.
That was certainly exciting and lovely. As I reflect on the beginning of the year, I can recall programs that had to do with the Aeolians and of course, two of the, well, one of the Aeolians at that time, and now two of them you had an opportunity to interview.
I did. Joe Paul and Mr. Louis now.
Yes, Louis Clare Jr.
Yes, the interview that I did with both of them, of course, Mr. Louis came on speaking about camp meeting, being the feature artist for camp meeting.
Right.
And Joe Paul came on to share with us about his single. And so those two interviews were they mainly spoke about the gifts that we have and using them for Christ, and how every gift that we have could be used in any which way to bring in persons into the church. Because with the song that Paul wrote, he spoke about that he wrote it as a prayer. So I'm pretty sure for somebody who would be listening to that song at any point in time, that song could speak to that person's heart versus a sermon, versus a seminar or anything. So we, in using our talents, can reach persons in different ways.
I had somebody, it was playing on the radio a few weeks ago, and somebody heard it, and it brought them to tears. You know, they told me they had to stop on the road and just give God thanks. You know, Louis Clare Jr., during the visit of the Aeolians, a wonderful thing happened with him.
Indeed.
You know, where the church rallied to support him actually going to Oakwood. And I think that was certainly a moving experience for him and for the church, to see that members would just out of their generosity contribute to this young man.
And I feel also out of belief, because when you hear Louis sing, when you see him, you see, as I told him there, I was like, I see ministry. I don't see a performance when he's singing. I see him pouring out his heart into this gift that he has. So I wasn't really surprised at the gesture of the church, because when you look at Louis, you just see that that's somebody in which you have no doubt in wanting to help, because he uses his gifts wisely.
Well, the Bible tells us, you know, that your gifts will make room for you. You know, and so young people who are out there watching this program need to understand that God has blessed them at least with one.
Yes.
And if they use the one, who knows what it multiplies into?
Who knows? Because I'm sure Louis did not know that the visit of the Aeolians would have resulted in him now being a student at Oakwood.
That's right. Camp meeting. Do you remember camp meeting?
Yes, I sure do. I do remember camp meeting.
What stands out from camp meeting with you?
Apart from the energy that Pastor Riley came with,
yes,
I remember taking around the conference out of the four walls, and we took it under the tent. So I enjoyed that interview because I was more so in my element out in nature. I love being outdoors. So the interview for me definitely is one that I hold dear to my heart, because I was so much more comfortable in doing that. And then Pastor Riley, on top of it, apart from him being an energetic speaker and one that's so real, he is also, I believe he and Pastor Lewis probably are related. That sense of humor that they have, yes. They're competing with each other for the title of who has the most sense of humor. So I really enjoyed that interview.
I think our people were excited as I listened to them. And I mean, they just came with this expectation every night for Pastor Steve Riley. You know, this year, just a few weeks ago, actually, I did an interview with Pastor Craig Williams. He's our community services leader, of course, and he had an experience that kind of encapsulated a little term that I've coined called the power of with.
The power of with. Which with? W-I-T-H or W-I-D-T-H?
W-I-T-H.
Okay, with, okay.
Now, it all centers around the matter of incarnation, Christ coming into our experience and being with us.
Okay.
You know, Jesus being with his disciples. And there's a power that comes from a Christian's life that is filled with God, being with people, demonstrating that love to them. And Pastor Williams actually took a young man into his house who had some struggles.
Okay.
And in an effort to help him to understand the love of God, providing him somewhere to stay, giving him food, helping help him get to some of his appointments. The young man came and he talked about how he's now able to experience God through the efforts of Pastor Williams, and was looking forward, as a result of this, to being baptized and understanding what the Bible declares in reality, you know. And so I think that was a moving moment for me as we talked with him about that. Of course, Pastor Williams' portfolio has to do with dealing with disasters and helping people. And what he said to me was that he's now able to talk with more of an authority when it comes to doing this kind of thing, because God allowed this to come into his life, you know. And so it's just amazing the things that God allows to happen to us.
That's true. That's so true.
Not only for the benefit of the others, but also for our benefit, you know. And so that was a real exciting program. I think we're probably going to have to take a break right here, and then we'll get back. All right. So we're just delighted that you've joined us. We're here having a wonderful, reflective moment on Around the Conference of some of the shows that God has led us to bring to you. And we do trust that you'll stay right there. Don't touch that remote.
Don't.
See you on the other side.
Lord Transform Me is an intentional effort of all employees and laity of the Seventh-day Adventist Church in the Inter-American Division to live Christ-like lives through the empowerment of the Holy Spirit in harmony with Romans 12:2. Be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. Through renewal of the mind, they experience reformation in the way they live, interact, and serve. Resulting from this renewal, they influence others through deliberate means to accept Jesus as their Savior and become disciples of Christ.
Welcome to this portion of Around the Conference, and joining me, my co-host on the program today, Mrs. Kenesha Sims.
Yes.
We have to get used to
that.
Get used
to that, yes.
Yes, yes. You know, Kenesha, we were talking about community activities with Pastor Williams, but one of the other major initiatives of our conference and throughout the world is the matter of Adventist Christian education. And at Bahamas Academy, we had the privilege of talking with we actually went to the campus and did an offshore program there too, when they had their week of prayer with Chaplain Roberts. And I remember them burning all of the children's whatever burdens they had. They brought it and burned it and all the rest of it. But Bahamas Academy is, in addition to that, spiritual activity, which is central to the school. That focus has been reflective in some of the students.
Yes.
And you had an opportunity to talk with one of those students.
Yes, I've actually had the opportunity to speak with two of them.
Two of them, okay.
Past head girl and present head girl.
Okay.
The first one was Denevia Seymour. And Denevia is such an ambassador for Bahamas Academy. When speaking to her, I almost felt as if, okay, I definitely need to go to Bahamas Academy now. If I could have turned back the hands of time, yes, because the way she spoke about the school in terms of the help that she received from the teachers, no matter what it was, it's as if the teachers would put their life on hold just to assist the student. And I'm like, in an environment like that, I could see why she thrived. And she wasn't the only one who said it, because then I interviewed Tyler some months after, and Tyler came with the same stories basically about the help that they received from the teachers and the environment of Bahamas Academy, where and Tyler was like, nowhere's perfect, which is true,
Right.
but at Bahamas Academy she feels safe. She feels as if persons are looking out for her best interests, and it's somewhere where she will encourage anyone and everyone to send their kids. So in listening to the both of them speak about Bahamas Academy, I had a moment where I'm like, it's good to know that you can speak like that
That's
about
right.
the church school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, foundational, you know, that teachers have that caring spirit for students, because ultimately they're there to reflect Christ.
Yes.
Yeah. Another one of your favorite persons, I believe, is a lady by the name of Olga Roach.
Yes.
And she's a
yes.
favorite of the church. You know, over the years, she's been very special to I wasn't here for that interview, but
Okay, yes.
how did that go?
That interview, if I had to say which interview I was the most nervous for, it would have been that one.
Okay.
Because I grew up in Cradle Roll with Sister Roach. So to now be sitting across from her and interviewing her, it was like, first and foremost, I was asking myself, am I speaking the Queen's English at this moment? Like, I was very nervous because she's like a quiet giant. She's so...
Quiet giant.
Yes,
I
she
like that.
is. And so sitting in her presence is almost as if I was in awe. I didn't want to have to interview her. I just wanted to sit there and just listen to her speak. So there are times I had to remind myself, Kenesha, open up your mouth and ask a question.
Right.
But her presence to me is just that powerful, as quiet as she is. And she spoke about working in the children's department for so many years, being a storyteller, and just sharing some nuggets of how it is to be able to influence in whichever way it is, whether you're doing it in a quiet way or you're doing it on a large scale. So that interview I learned, but I was also nervous.
You know, many of us had the opportunity of having her tell us stories from we were very small. And I think one of the things that I could remember is that she didn't only tell stories, but when babies were born, she had this warmth about her of providing something warm for them, either a little quilt or some footsies or a little cap for the mold of the baby's head. And you know, it spoke volumes, you know, over the years. And so many people have been affected in a very positive way
yes.
because of that ministry. And you know what it says to me is that God can use any gift or talent that you have to make an impact upon people, you know, and what people are really looking for is the matter of love.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she exudes that in her own quiet way. She exudes it. And the show was done around Mother's Day.
Okay.
So it was most appropriate to have her on during that time, because I know a lot of us look to her as a mother figure within the church.
Yeah.
So yeah, she did well.
Yeah.
As nervous as I was, she did well.
You know, the church and all of these programs really has one focus, and that is the mission of the church, highlighting the mission of the church. And our primary mission is the matter of sharing the gospel. At the beginning of the year, we talked with, I think it was Pastor Basil Stirrup, who highlighted what our personal ministries department had as its focus and its major initiative, as prepared by Pastor Joseph and Pastor Ashadine as a thrust for the conference, which was the 4 quadrants, or rather quadrants in New Providence, that were going to be utilized to help to carry out public campaigns. And then at the end of the year, we concluded with a joint program with our union that helped to do some training with our pastors and our lay persons. We had a whole wonderful week, which had highlighted John Bradshaw from It Is Written. And I think you were able to catch bits and pieces of that.
Yes.
as well as Elder Samuel Telemac and Elder Ferreira from our division, who did a lot of training with our pastors and our laypersons. And then in the evenings, we just had wonderful times with Elder Bradshaw with those messages that were so riveting, you know.
He's an ex-storyteller also, yes. He has many stories and they're very relevant.
You know, and I thought about that, especially when he told the last story on the Saturday evening about the boat that was in the harbor and had this power that was buried under the water, but they were afraid to touch it. He had power that was there, but it was not being used. You know, and I'll never forget that we as a church, we have the promise of the power of the Holy Ghost. The question is, are we making ourselves available to that power? Because we need it to finish this work.
Yes.
Yeah. And so there've just been so many exciting times. I could recall some of our authors and our writers. I remember Elliston Ramming. He put out a new book this year. Your uncle.
My uncle, I'm like, my uncle, yes.
Dr. Higgs.
Yes.
He had a new book out. I think Colin Major had a new CD.
Yes.
So
and from Mr. Major, if I recall correctly, proceeds from the
sales of those the albums, or the CDs, going to help with our multi-purpose and hurricane relief efforts. Yeah. Now that you say that, one of the things that we launched this year was also the multi-purpose building focus. And we just want to remind our viewing audience that you are welcome, more than welcome, to make your contributions to the multi-purpose building on an ongoing basis. We're always available to receive your funds. Are there any other, maybe we have time just for one more, that stands, well, I don't know if you want to say stand out, but that comes to mind. There's so many of them.
8 Weeks to Wellness.
8 Weeks to Wellness.
Yes.
Yeah. That's a major program that we have every year. As a matter of fact, already for next year, they're in the planning stages of that presently. And we have near to 200, maybe a little over 200 people who attend from the community.
Yes.
Yeah. And so we give thanks to our health director, Natalie Lacroix, for what she does in that regard. And many people have benefited over the years from that.
I can think of another one just now where Y10.
Y10?
Yes, Y10. I don't know why. Yes, in the summer, Y10.
Yes.
This year we interviewed the speakers for Y10.
Yes.
And what a bunch they were. It was Elder, correct me, sir, for Natalie Roberts. At that time, it was Chaplain Roberts.
Chaplain Roberts.
Jan Dossett, Denevia Seymour, and then Stanley Fullard came on.
Right. Outstanding young people.
Yes. 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 So we actually interviewed that group also for around the conference. It's just so many events that were highlighted. It's like everything's just doing this in my head at this time.
You know, when you say that, my mind immediately jumped also on the Youth Awards banquet that just took place, even though we didn't do a program on it. But that was an exciting event.
Yes, sir, and we didn't let you sit down.
I mean, I worked hard all night.
You sure did.
You know, I tell you, the Lord is just good. And again, all of these activities were just avenues to point people to Christ.
Yes.
I remember the formation of the campus ministries. PCM. Where we had a number of scores of young people at Johnson Park who committed themselves to doing ministry on our public campuses.
And during that program, it didn't dawn on me until that day the importance of being an ambassador wherever it is that you are. And I never thought of, because yes, I went to NCU, so that spiritual aspect was there, but I never thought of it outside of a Christian institution. So with the initiative of PCM, I now see the importance of having this avenue in our secular universities also.
Yeah. From a personal perspective, as you have, both you and I have had the opportunity to be an instrument in God's hands, to help to expose the public to what God is doing in His church. Are there any lessons or a lesson that God has taught you in all of this? Did any text come to life in your life as we conclude?
The lesson that I learned is a simple and a short one, is that every aspect of the church is an arm of ministry.
Yes.
And so whether it was the youth department promoting an event, ASI, PCM, Week of Prayer at Bahamas Academy, it's like every event has within itself the powers and the ability to reach someone.
Yeah.
So that's what I learned from sitting in that seat and interviewing the persons who came to promote the programs.
Yeah. For me, the text always comes to mind, take no thought what you're going to say. Because, and people come here and they say, they come nervous sometimes. I say, it's just a conversation.
Yes, that's it.
And, I find that God always puts the words and even the questions in my mind, and it just evolves. And we just want to say to God be the glory.
Amen.
Great things He has done. And we want to wish you the best for 2018 as we continue to work together to build His kingdom.
Yes.
And soon and very soon, we will sit at the feet of Jesus, where we won't interview Him, we just listen and embrace the love of God. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
God bless. It's just been a pleasure having you join us each week on Around the Conference. I want you to remember Psalm 16 and verse 11. It says, "Thou wilt show me the path to life. In Thy presence is fullness of joy, and at Thy right hand are pleasures forevermore." I wish for you every pleasure that comes from God, and may your life be full of His richness, His joy, and His love. Until next year, may God richly bless you.
And happy Sabbath.